Hey everybody, welcome into the Craven Wings Full Court Press. I'm Eric Kane alongside Grant Ramey. And Grant, what we thought was going to be a rock fight, two fantastic defensive squads, turned down to an offensive showcase for Tennessee, a 16-0 run to begin this basketball game, scoring 87 points. It was quite the showing for Tennessee, who improves to 2-0 in SEC play.
I don't know if there's a perfect game that exists of basketball, but I think that's about as perfect as it gets for Tennessee to start on a 16-0 run, to hit the shots they did early, to get I think, 5 guys in double figures. Santiago Vescovi had 14 in the first half. He didn't score in the second half. It didn't matter because they were up 29 in the first half. They were up 36 early in the second half. For them to, against the number 6 defense in the country, to put on that kind of show, it's obviously a home game. It's easier at home. You always have that advantage. I think they've won 24 in a row here at this point. But to play the way they did, that's far and away the best basketball game they've played all season. Josiah Jordan-James returns, plays 17 minutes for the first time. He plays for the first time in 4 games. It's been that long. It's been since December 7th. So you get all that scoring. You play that well defensively, and you get Josiah back on top of that. It's about as perfect as it gets for Tennessee right now.
What did you think from Triple J here tonight? I know you mentioned the minute count and all that, and he'll continue to work himself back in, but it was a game where Tennessee didn't necessarily need him, but it was good to get him back out there because Tennessee will need him down the stretch.
He looked comfortable. He was hitting shots. I think he had 8 points and 4 assists off the top of my head, if I'm not mistaken. And just the way he was playing, the way he was bouncing around. I mean, he had a alley-oop dunk off of a Zakai Ziegler pass on the baseline. I think that was late in the first half, if I'm not mistaken. That was a really big moment for him. I mean, he was hitting shots. He was celebrating. He just looks comfortable for the first time in a long time. I think he's practiced 2 days in a row, maybe 3 days in a row, and he's felt good about his knee. So that's obviously a huge development for this team, not only if he can play, but if he can stay in lineups and play consistently and not have to deal with knee pain night in and night out. That would be a huge development for this team moving forward.
5 volunteers scored in double figures, but it was good to see Julian Phillips being one of those guys. 11 points, 5 of 6 shooting, had 7 rebounds, 1 assist. Looked like Julian Phillips was more comfortable on the offensive end tonight.
It was, and 7 rebounds is a big number for him. I know he had a couple of offensive boards where he scored off of those offensive with the putbacks right there in the paint. I think that was huge for him. It didn't look like he was forcing anything. It looked like he was just coming up with whatever he could score when he could score, and it wasn't anything where he was taking bad shots. It just felt like he was a little more energetic, a little more comfortable, having a little bit more fun, and maybe just a night like the rest of his teammates where, he hasn't played that great the last few nights out, but he let off some steam, and he played as well as anybody for sure.
I mean, we know that this team at points in times this year and at points in times the last couple of years, it's been tough sledding offensively. But for Tennessee to put forth this type of offensive performance, shooting 69% from the field, 57% from 3, making 12 three-pointers, it's got to give this team a lot of confidence moving forward, knowing how well it does play defensively, night in and night out.
It does, because that defense is going to be there. I mean, it feels like if this team can score 55, 60 points, you're probably going to win because you're not going to give up 55 or 60 points. I don't know what the average is, but they've held so many teams under 50 points to this point in the season. Mississippi State scores 53 tonight. That defense is going to be there, and when you can hit shots early and establish some confidence like they did tonight, obviously it helps being at home, but when you can hit those shots early, it just sets apart everything, because it's not just one guy going off for 30. It's 5 guys scoring in double figures. It's a lot of guys off the bench doing a lot of stuff. So there's going to be nights like this. There's going to be nights where it's really hard to watch, and you're just hoping you can outscore whatever your defense gives up. And then there's going to be nights like this where when it all comes together, man, they're a really good basketball team.
The last thing, a pair of veterans. Well, Zakai Ziegler's only a sophomore, but he feels like a veteran. But double-double, 11 points, 10 assists, and then you mentioned him early, Santiago Vescovi started from the field or from three-point range, 3 of 3, scored all of his 14 points in the first half. How big were those two guys setting the tone, getting Tennessee off to that big lead?
Huge, because this is the Santi. The last 3 games we've seen from him is the Santi we saw all last year when he was one of the best players in the league, one of the best players in college basketball, really one of the best shooters in the game for sure. And Zakai, yeah, you're 100% right. It feels like he's been here for 5 years. He's been here for a year and a half now. But he plays that veteran role. He's a little out of control tonight. I don't know what Rick will say about him after the game, but if there was anything to pick apart, he was out of control for times. But he was 4 for 7 from the field, 3 for 5 from the three-point line. Hit a lot of big shots. And, 2 more veterans, Olivia Kamwa and Urish Blasic, they scored 10 each. They went 10 for 10 from the field. I mean, they combined to go 10 for 10 from the field. You talk about playing about as well as you can play it. That's what they're doing right now, or at least they did tonight.
Yeah, most offense you've seen from Uros in quite some time, 5 of 5 from the field, added 3 rebounds. and finishing with 10 points. Closing the book now on, of course, Mississippi State. You do have South Carolina on the road on Saturday. Quickly, just a quick little brief synopsis on the Gamecocks so far this season.
South Carolina has G.G. Jackson. He's an 18-year-old freshman. He's one of the best players in the country. He was committed to North Carolina. He broke that commitment and ended up signing with South Carolina. And unfortunately for South Carolina, that's about all they got. They're the worst team in the SEC by a long shot. I think they're 200 plus in KenPom ratings, 260 maybe range in the net rankings. So they're a bad basketball team. You need to go there. You need to take care of business. You need to build off of this momentum and start 3-0 in the league with 2 road wins. That would be huge for Tennessee. Then come back home, Vanderbilt, 9 o'clock a week from tonight, a late-night game in Thompson-Boling, and try to just kind of keep it rolling, keep doing what you're doing.
Good stuff for Tennessee, who improves to 12-2 on the season, 2-0 in SEC play. He's Garrett Ramey. I'm Eric Kane, and you've been watching a Tennessee victory, 87-53 over Mississippi State, right here on the Craven Wings Full Court Press.